Hello, I'm Andrew Muir, Science Director for the Great Lakes Fishery Commission. I regret not being able to be there with you in person today, but I appreciate the opportunity to provide you an update on FishPass. FishPass was designed as a potential solution to the connectivity conundrum. The connectivity conundrum refers to the tension between improving fish passage for desirable or native species restoration on the one hand, while at the same time reducing or eliminating upstream passage for invasive or undesirable species on the other hand. We ask the question, can we have it both ways? Can selective connectivity provide the ability to restore connectivity, or at least partial connectivity, for fishery restoration, while also providing a barrier to invasive species? So what is FishPass? FishPass is an innovative project to enhance fish passage and connectivity between the Boardman or Ottaway River and Lake Michigan while removing invasive or non-desirable fishes through controlled sorting. As many of you know, FishPass project site is on the Boardman Ottaway River, which flows into Lake Michigan through the heart of downtown Traverse City. This is a rendering of the project design, and I'll point out just a few of the project's main features. On the left side of the slide, you can see the Arc Labyrinth weir and dam, as well as the headworks and gates associated with the fish sorting channels, shown here. Together, these features are a complete barrier to all fish movement. On the top side of the slide, looking south, through here, you can see the Nature Lake bypass channel. The bulk of the river will flow over the weir and through the Nature Lake channel to maintain water levels and river flow. On the bottom of the slide, looking toward the north, is the fish sorting channel, here, which is specifically designed to be adaptable to account for fish behavior and movement. Just north of the fish sorting channel is the Research and Education Center, which will be built during the third phase of the research project. This slide also depicts many of the amenities that residents of Traverse City identified as important to the site, such as the amphitheater up here, stepped access to the river, shown here, and a slide kayak portage that will allow kayakers to go from upstream to downstream with ease, as well as a walking path that crosses the river. This figure demonstrates how we are borrowing an approach to fish sorting from single stream recycling. The green panel on the top depicts a single stream recycling facility, and the panel on the bottom in blue represents a parallel process developed to inform selective fish passage. The idea in both instances is that a mixed assortment of things arrives at a facility. In the case of the single stream recycling, materials are brought via packer trucks, whereas fish deliver themselves to the facility. In the case of single stream recycling, the material is dumped onto the tipping room floor, and very large items like couches and televisions are removed from the assemblage, and then particle size of the material stream is reduced via screens and shredders. So if you apply this process train to fish passage, we can think about the first sorting opportunity on the basis of size at the fishway entrance, shown down here. So if you carry this analogy through, you can imagine a series of different sorting techniques or technologies targeting specific attributes of fish to sort them as they move through the fishway, much like what happens as a mixed assemblage of materials are brought to a material recovery facility. Much like the recycling industry, we'll target specific attributes of fish, including their phenology, or the timing of their movements into the river, morphology, so their shape and size, their behavior, like what environmental cues they respond to, for example, and their physiology, so how well they might be able to jump or swim upstream against currents.
And that's what we want to develop FishPass to do the same thing. So we have individual technologies that will target specific attributes of fish, like their size, their color, their shape, their swimming ability, or responses to environmental stimuli like sound or light, or propensity to swim in certain locations in the water. Target them with traps. That's what we want to be able to develop here.
If there is a silver lining associated with the lengthy delays in getting construction going, it's that we are armed with far greater knowledge and science of the system than we were in the past. The board has funded over 20 research projects, 13 of which are complete and 7 are ongoing. The projects span a variety of disciplinary areas with a focus on collecting baseline data prior to FishPass construction and fish passage, and on developing technologies and techniques for use in species sorting. One of the objectives of FishPass has been to develop exportable approaches and solutions, and the volume of new knowledge that is being published and used elsewhere provides an indication that we're working towards achieving that objective. So the supplementary research projects funded to date have generated nearly 25 publications are being cited at a rate approaching about 100 per year. So pretty good evidence that the work we're doing here is in general being uptaken elsewhere and used to address fish passage issues. I'll now shift gears a little bit and provide you an update about the current status of the project. As many of you know, the construction suspension was lifted and we were able to negotiate work to begin on the first 2 phases of the project, which basically represents all of the in-stream work. So construction phases 1 and 2 began in May of 2024, and I'm pleased to report that phase 1, which is the Arc Labyrinth Weir and the Nature Lake Bypass Channel, are well underway. So I'll show you what that looks like in a couple of minutes here. I'm also thrilled that we're on schedule to complete phase 1 over the coming months, after which attention will shift to the north side of the river and the fish sorting channels, which represents phase 2. And those 2 phases are expected to be complete by summer of 2026. Overall, the project is on schedule to be completed by the spring of 2027 and within budget. So we've recently just begun negotiating the plan for phase 3, which is the research building, research and education building, and all of the upland work, including the amenities and landscaping. This schematic of the project site is basically flipped around from the orientation that I provided earlier. The design, the arrow here shown in blue represents the direction of water flow. The thick black dash line shown here represents the sheet pile cofferdam, which allows the work to be done in the dry. Within the shaded area, in the Arc Labyrinth Weir and the new Nature Lake Bypass Channel will be constructed. So kind of shown here within this dashed line. The first image shown here represents a view basically looking due north across the existing Union Street Dam. And you can see the sheet pile cofferdam that kind of cuts right through the center line of the river and the former Union Street Dam. The second image shown here shows the Arc Labyrinth Weir under construction, and you can begin to see what that weir looks like. It's taking shape now. You can see that in the, actually my head is covering part of it, but the rebar here showing the Arc Labyrinth Weir on the right-hand side of the image. And then finally, this image shows the downstream section of the Nature Lake Bypass Channel. And the rock that you can see there is actually the beginning of the new riverbed in the Nature Lake Bypass Channel on the downstream end. The FishPass Advisory Board had the opportunity this spring to tour the site, and it was really incredible to stand on the construction site to just see the scope of the entire project. It's really quite incredible. So you can certainly appreciate from this perspective kind of the scope and scale of this, particularly when you're standing on top of it. And this slide shows members of the advisory board here posing on the basically what's going to be the new Arc Labyrinth weir. So that was a pretty cool experience. This is a time lapse that Dan put together showing the entire construction process. So pretty cool to kind of see from the very beginning to where we're at now. This is the drawing down of that pond that was created in the upstream portion of the cofferdam, and then site preparation and soil removal. So that's forming the pad upon which the new weir and dam will sit. And there you can kind of see the rebar of the Arc Labyrinth weir taking shape. This image gives you a bird's eye view from last week, looking from the top of one of the neighboring condos down onto the project site, and you can kind of see Grand Traverse Bay in the background, so give you kind of a better orientation of the project site and where it sits right in the middle of downtown Traverse City. So as I previously mentioned, construction is well underway for phases 1 and 2, which includes all of the in-stream work, and we're currently in the process of negotiating the work for phase 3, the upland work, and the research and education building. There's been a ton of work that's been done. In fact, we just hired an outreach and education specialist to support the project team, but over the last little while, a ton of work to teach people about the project overall, FishPass in generally. There's been over 10 sites visits as well as 20 presentations given by Dan and Reed and other folks associated with the project. They also hosted and participated in a bunch of unique events, including World Fish Migration Day at the Shed Aquarium. We hosted a premiere viewing of the Ottaway A River Reconnected in Traverse City last year. The Great Lakes Fishery Commission annual meeting is going to be hosted in Traverse City this spring, in which we'll focus the plenary or common session on the topic of selective connectivity and fish passage generally. And then we're also hosting in Traverse City the International Conference on Fish Telemetry this June. So lots going on with respect to outreach and education. And with that, I'll end. And unfortunately, I'm not there, but if you do have any questions, you can email myself or Dan. And with that, I thank you for your attention and for inviting us to give an update on FishPass. Thank you. Have a great day.